empty, you know? That's kind of how it feels to be here again after 6 months of not being here at all.
Nous l'appellerons Kay car elle tient à garder l'anonymat. Kay travaillait dans cette clinique de Montgomery, aujourd'hui fermée, l'une des 3 seules cliniques à pratiquer des avortements en Alabama il y a 6 mois encore.
It's sad because I know that there are people that need to be here. This is a procedure room. We obviously haven't had housekeeping in here or anything in 6 months, so things are a little dusty.
Bientôt, tout sera vide. Meubles, matériel et appareils ont été vendus.
This was my front desk here. I do have patient names up here, also staff name and phone numbers. Calendars even still say June.
En juin dernier, la Cour suprême des États-Unis révoque le droit à l'avortement au niveau fédéral, laissant à chaque État le choix de l'autoriser ou pas sur son territoire. Depuis, l'IVG est interdite en Alabama et la clinique fermée. Pour Kay, c'est une chape de plomb qui s'est abattue.
I felt like I was going to be here until the day I died. Not until I retired, but until the day I died. And it's weird losing a job when you didn't even do anything wrong.
Kay nous raconte comment pendant 5 ans, elle a accueilli les patientes qu'elle accompagnait aussi pour leurs examens médicaux. La messagerie de la clinique est toujours reliée à son portable et elle reçoit encore des appels.
We're getting calls as recently as the 17th, Friday, Thursday and Friday, of patients seeking care and stuff like that.
Des avortements devenus impossibles dans tout l'État après la décision de la Cour suprême.
I wasn't surprised when it came. We knew Alabama would be the first to fall because Alabama has so many existent laws, or had so many existing laws on the books.
Kay nous emmène au Capitole, dominé par les républicains, conservateurs et religieux. C'est là qu'en 2019, le Sénat a voté une loi qui interdit l'avortement, même en cas de viol ou d'inceste.
Mr. Ward. Mr. Watley.
Adoptée par 26 voix contre 6, tous des hommes blancs, la loi fait de l'IVG un crime passible de 99 ans de prison. Elle est entrée en vigueur dès le volte-face de la Cour suprême. L'homme qui a rédigé cette loi, le voici. Eric Johnston est avocat et fondateur de la coalition pro-vie.
The Act recognizes the unborn child as a human being entitled to protection of the law. The manner in which the child is conceived does not determine whether the child should be aborted. In other words, if the child is conceived by, say, a married couple with consent, by an unmarried couple by accident, in vitro fertilization, by rape, by incest, it doesn't matter. Once the child is conceived and you have that implanted fertilized egg in the uterine wall, then that is a person entitled to protection of the law. Rape and incest are very egregious things, but the percentage of those is very, very low.
Pour cet avocat qui se reconnaît comme un homme de foi, l'objectif de la loi serait aussi de protéger les droits des femmes.
We don't prosecute the women. Under the law, the woman is not prosecuted. It's the abortionist. If the woman decides she has to have the abortion, then she'll be able to go to another state and have the abortion.
Aller dans un autre État, c'est donc la seule option désormais. Mais encore faut-il pouvoir se le permettre. La clinique la plus proche est à 8 heures de route. Il faut prendre au moins 3 jours de congé, se loger, sans compter le prix de l'avortement, $500. Dans ce sud conservateur où l'avortement reste un tabou, cette loi génère surtout de la peur. C'est pourquoi aucune femme ayant avorté n'a accepté de témoigner, même de façon anonyme.
There's fear on everyone's end. There's fear from people who can no longer access abortions, potential patients. There's fear from their partners in their community. And then there's, of course, the fear from the physicians, because that's where the bill actually targets and anyone who helps perform one. And they're very vague in that. They don't tell you, well, as me telling a patient, you can go to this clinic, XYZ, here's this phone number. Is that aiding and abetting? It could be. Our lawyers have advised us not to say anything like that. as far as not showing my face, because I don't want to lose my job, and I could, just for sitting here and talking about abortion, because it gets out that I worked in a clinic. So obviously, I'm not aligned with their values.
Dans ce climat de peur, les seuls qui osent s'exprimer et s'exposer sont des militants. Presque toujours des militantes d'ailleurs. Elles continuent à défendre les droits des femmes et leur accès aux soins dans les limites floues de la loi.
So Julie, you have a patient ready for me? I do. Okay. So...
Yashika Robinson est de cette trempe-là. La gynécologue obstétricienne partage un cabinet à Huntsville, dans le nord de l'État.
Hello, you want to have a seat over here for me?
Jusqu'à fin juin et l'interdiction de l'avortement en Alabama, elle travaillait aussi dans une clinique privée de Huntsville, l'une des 3 de l'État accueillant les femmes voulant mettre fin à leur grossesse. Car pour le docteur Robinson, l'avortement fait partie des soins de santé. Mais aujourd'hui, elle ne peut qu'accompagner des femmes en détresse.
We have a complete ban on abortion, so we cannot provide surgical abortions nor medical abortions. But I am a physician, I am a gynecologist, and I am an abortion provider. So I have no obligation to turn a patient away. So a patient who has had a termination of pregnancy in another state can still seek care, and I think we all have a responsibility at the least, because we can't provide that care locally, to at least give the patients the post-abortion follow-up they need and give them the guidance that they need.
Alabama Women's Wellness Center.
Just today, we had a young lady that came here just for post-abortion follow-up. She had her termination of pregnancy in another state. She did the medication abortion. It is very effective and it is very safe, but it's not 100%. Because she was still having pregnancy symptoms, she was seeking care just to get some follow-up to see if her pregnancy was successfully terminated. And we did find today that she is pregnant. So this is a patient who has already traveled, and now she will likely need to travel again.
En Alabama, comme dans tout le pays, l'accès aux soins est difficile quand on ne peut pas se payer une bonne assurance santé. Et pour le docteur Robinson, l'interdiction de l'avortement va encore accentuer la fracture entre les plus riches et les défavorisés.
My biggest concern is the effect that it's going to have on women of color. We are the people who have historically been medically underserved. We are the people who've suffered the greatest from healthcare disparities. And I think that we're going to be the people who are going to suffer more now, because we will be the people that are going to have difficulty traveling for that care, difficulty having child care arranged so that we can take time off of work and be able to leave, suffering the consequences of lost days off of work. And I do think that you're going to have many women who may die. They're going to be forced to continue pregnancies that they know put their life at risk, but they can't navigate all the hurdles that it takes to be able to leave the area to get medical care at this point.
Loin du cabinet du docteur Robinson, très loin des quartiers huppés du centre-ville, nous sommes dans la banlieue de Birmingham, la plus grande agglomération de l'Alabama. Une banlieue pauvre où vivent surtout des afro-américains. Dans cet État du Sud, théâtre d'épisodes dramatiques de la lutte pour les droits civiques des Noirs, une forme de ségrégation persiste. Elle est économique, sociale, mais aussi dans l'accès à l'éducation et aux soins de santé. C'est dans ce quartier que s'est installée l'association Yellowhammer Fund.
So in these bags, we have different period products, like we have some pads and some tampons available. These bags have like Plan B, or it's also like the morning after pill, if you're familiar with that, emergency contraception, as well as resources, abortion resources, and resources on emergency contraception locally.
Yeah, it's so convenient.
Une fois par mois, c'est porte ouverte, distribution de produits d'hygiène et contraceptifs, souvent très chers. L'occasion aussi de donner des informations à une population qui en manque cruellement, car en Alabama, il n'y a pas de cours d'éducation sexuelle à l'école.
A lot of information that needed to be shared about taking baths and keeping yourself properly clean in the right areas and sharing body chemistry with other people, and it causes sexually transmitted diseases. It causes AIDS, you know, like it can cause a real serious health condition by us not being educated about the body.
L'éducation et l'accès à la contraception, c'est tout ce que peut faire Yellowhammer depuis que l'IVG est interdite en Alabama. Auparavant, l'association qui vit de dons permettait aux femmes qui n'en avaient pas les moyens d'interrompre leur grossesse en Alabama, voire dans un autre État.
It stopped a very large portion of our operation, which was abortion funding. We were funding about 150 abortion clients a week pre the Dobbs decision, and now we are not funding any at all. So pre the Dobbs decision, we're already dealing with the maternal mortality rate for Black women being 3 times that of white women, and that's a really staunch statistic. It's very much so prevalent in Alabama itself. This decision is a death threat. We're hardly making it out of childbirth itself, much less like not being able to get an abortion, not being able to get social services, dealing with just whatever the state offers you for medical care.
Dans ce quartier où les violences envers les femmes sont fréquentes, l'avortement est souvent un moyen de contraception.
A lot of people that I went to school with and was friends with got pregnant, had babies. I think abortion should be a choice. I think that taking away someone's rights like that is not okay. Women should, it's their body, their choice. You should have the choice to keep your child or get rid of it. And especially if you were raped, you don't want to keep a child sometimes that.
Alors sont les moyens pour se rendre dans un État où l'IVG est légal, certaines s'inquiètent d'une explosion des avortements clandestins.
Well, there's going to be needless deaths. Because if you're going to somewhere that's not sterile, to someone that's not trained to do procedures, of course you're going to be in more danger of complications.
Quand on sillonne l'Alabama, impossible de ne pas les remarquer, les églises sont partout. L'Alabama est un État très religieux. Les 3/4 de la population se disent chrétiens. Protestantes ou catholiques, les églises sont influentes. Elles possèdent des hôpitaux où, bien sûr, les soins sont en accord avec la foi. Et comme nous l'explique Kay, elles gèrent aussi ce qu'on appelle ici des fake cliniques, des fausses cliniques d'avortement.
We had 3 clinics here, and so we have probably 50, maybe even more crisis pregnancy centers in Alabama. The scope of the clinic is to trick patients who want to have an abortion into not having an abortion.
Surprenant car le combat est gagné, mais là non plus, nous n'avons pas pu entrer avec notre caméra, ni dans aucune autre fake clinique.
They're all operated by Christian organizations, Catholic organizations, and stuff like that. So you come in, say you're a pregnant person and you're thinking about having an abortion. So you'll go inside and sure, you'll get a pregnancy test. And they force you to see the ultrasound, first of all, and hear the heartbeat if there is one. They call it a baby. They call you mom, all of this other gross stuff. Which is hard for someone who doesn't want to be a parent or want to be pregnant.
La Bible brandie pour s'opposer à l'avortement et protéger la vie du fœtus, quel qu'en soit le prix. Toutes les églises ne sont pas aussi dogmatiques. Elles sont certes une minorité, mais une dizaine de congrégations sont plus ouvertes sur la société, donc plus tolérantes. C'est le cas de cette paroisse presbytérienne.
in Jesus Christ, we are forgiven. Thanks be to God.
Les révérends de la paroisse ont pris position contre la loi anti-avortement dès son vote. Dans le prêche ce dimanche-là, une pensée pour les détenus, les SDF, les homosexuels et pour le droit des femmes à disposer de leur corps.
Nobody is pro-abortion. You know, it's not anybody's dream to have an abortion. It's something that it's a fallback, and it's not anything that people approach with excitement, but it is just something that is sometimes necessary. We work very hard to try and eliminate the reasons that somebody might need to make that decision. So, for example, one of the things that we advocate for is for health care for all. People who don't have health care can't be expected to bring a healthy child into the world. We look to the day when every pregnancy can be healthy, every pregnancy can be wanted, but we don't live in that world.
Et quand on lui parle de ceux qui se revendiquent pro-life, donc pour la vie parce qu'ils sont contre l'avortement,
I would say that we are pro-life. We are in favor of supporting the lives of women. We are in favor of supporting the lives of children. We are in favor of a society in which people can afford to live, afford to flourish. We are in favor of life in a much broader sense than just life in utero.
En Alabama, comme dans tous les États-Unis, l'avortement reste un sujet très clivant. Ici, on est viscéralement pour ou contre. Selon le dernier sondage Gallup, 55% des Américains défendent le droit à l'avortement. Pour 39%, c'est un crime. Deux camps qui s'affrontent aussi devant les cliniques d'avortement. Au milieu, ce qu'on appelle les cliniques escortes, identifiables à leur gilet, les anges gardiens des femmes venues se faire avorter, protégeant leur identité derrière d'immenses parapluies.
Our job here as escorts was to provide a buffer between the patients and the sidewalk. We've got some religious people that will show up here and scream through bullhorns, the most vile and offensive things you can imagine.
Cathy était escorte à la clinique d'avortement de Huntsville pendant plus de 30 ans. Aujourd'hui, le calme est revenu ici car on ne pratique plus d'IVG en Alabama. Mais 30 ans de lutte, ça crée des liens.
And in Alabama, it's nice to find like-minded people because you assume that everybody is religious conservative, and finding a group of people that aren't religious conservatives was a very wonderful thing.
Alors, avec d'autres escortes, ils se retrouvent une fois par mois dans la salle d'attente de la clinique pour évoquer les attaques contre les médecins et les bâtiments, les moments émouvants aussi.
And this little girl got up, and she looked younger than my granddaughters, who were 9 at the time. And my heart just sank because I realized what was going on. That somebody that little, that tiny, had been put in that position. And, yeah, it was heartbreaking. And then that these religious idiots were going to try to force her to carry a pregnancy.
Because you don't kill the baby for the sins of the father, but you don't care if that child dies.
Didn't they try to make that a law where they had to have the rapist's permission for the woman to have the abortion?
I remember that.
Ils ont à peine revêtu leur gilet qu'en surprise. Ici, le docteur Robinson est une véritable héroïne car en plus de son cabinet en ville, elle a travaillé dans cette clinique d'avortement depuis 2005.
It's kind of hard to be in here today. It's not alive because we haven't really, because it's not as live as it was when we were here seeing patients each day. But, on the average, we would see about 20 to 25 patients per clinic day. This is one of our procedure rooms. This is where we would actually perform our termination of pregnancies here in this room. We perform abortions up to 21 weeks, 6 days gestational age, and that's due to the gestational age limit according to the law here in Alabama.
Plus de 2300 avortements pratiqués ici l'an dernier, soit un tiers des IVG réalisés en Alabama. Avant la loi, le docteur Robinson accueillait aussi des internes en obstétrique qu'elle formait aux gestes spécifiques à un avortement.
Having just that technical knowledge of how to do it and the book to relay it to you is totally different than having that hands-on experience. Right now, the law allows for you to proceed with an abortion for maternal indications. That means when a mother's life is clearly at risk. That is not the time where you're going to have a resident who is training to step in and do that procedure. That's not a training opportunity.
So the IUD literally comes out of the box like this. And so the box looks like this, and your assistant will sit there and open it. You don't want to open it till you know you can get the IUD in.
Dans cette université privée, le docteur Patel montre comment poser un stérilet. C'est le seul qui ait accepté notre caméra. L'université d'Alabama, qui reçoit des subventions de l'État, a refusé. Ici, la foi et les croyances pesaient déjà sur la formation des futurs médecins avant l'interdiction de l'IVG.
A lot of the practitioners in the state of Alabama, they don't perform even IUD insertions because of, like we learned today, they believe that it's an abortive it's an abortive procedure. So even in my education currently, I wasn't able to see a single IUD placed during my rotation last month.
It'll work.
Les étudiants le savent, l'interdiction de l'avortement crée déjà des inégalités selon l'État où ils font leurs études.
I have a good friend who is a first-year resident, and they've told me that they see them coming in and out of the door, elective and not elective abortions every day. So she's gotten a lot of hands-on experience with that up in the Northeast versus in Alabama.
All these options are ideal methods. What really changes is that part of OB/GYN residency or teaching is that you're allowed the opportunity to learn how to perform an abortion. They have to allow you to do that. Now the problem is the vast majority of states won't let you do that. So what's going to happen is that if I am learning in, say, Alabama, I'm training here, and I want to learn how to perform an abortion, I would have to travel with my family or myself to Illinois, another state, to stay there for 2 or 3 weeks to learn to do a procedure.
Le docteur Patel ne se prononcera pas sur la loi devant notre caméra. À cause des restrictions sur sa formation et sa carrière, Kiana, comme la moitié des diplômés de l'État, rêve d'un ailleurs moins étouffant.
My family is from Alabama, so it's been a thought of mine to be an OB/GYN in Alabama, but now I'm very unsure about that. So.
Partir ou rester, la question se pose aussi pour les femmes. Se rendre dans un autre État pour avorter ou alors rester, assumer une grossesse non désirée ou se débrouiller pour y mettre fin dans le désert d'avortement qu'est devenu l'Alabama et plus largement le sud des États-Unis, c'est aujourd'hui le dilemme qui se pose aux femmes.